Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Player 3 podcast, coming at you from our brand new studio, which is also my office in my house. We have next to me here the always visually stunning Larry Hunt.
Hi.
And sitting over here to my right, we have He Can Fix You a Nice Delicious Glass of Pepsi and Steal Your Daughter's Heart, ladies and gentlemen, Doug Martin.
What's going on?
And over here we have Benjamin D. Hankins. The D stands for didn't think we'd make it to episode 20, but we did.
Wait, I didn't.
None of y'all believed in me.
I didn't.
None
I
of you
still
believed
don't.
in me.
I think I've been in a major car wreck. I'm in a coma, and this is all just a dream.
I'm the type of guy.
But it all started when I set my coffee on the dash.
I'm the type of guy who completely buys into something, whether or not I feel it has any kind of future relevance.
Well, we have future relevance. Our podcast is growing. You can find us on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, all those places, because we are the Player 3 podcast. We get together every Monday to talk about our favorite thing in the universe, the thing that we love more than anything.
Coffee.
It's not true.
We're all drinking Highland Grog today.
Tailless
Yes.
cats.
You want to give us a review on Highland Grog since you don't have anything to review for us this week?
It's delicious.
Fantastic. All right. How are we doing, boys? How you like the setup? The setup? You
Good.
feeling
It's
comfortable?
I feel
Feels good.
comfortable. I'm surrounded by wood. And the table's wood. The walls are wood.
Everything's wood paneled.
The computer is wood.
If I light a match, we're all dead.
Well, not necessarily. That's got to catch pretty quick.
Yeah, this room is kind of overwhelming. We're going to need some posters and stuff. I got my signed picture of Jim Fossil back there.
Can't see it
Let's
though.
take bets on how fast we can burn this thing down.
I could burn it down pretty quickly. It would take more than a match.
Arsonism 3 podcast.
All right, let's get this week started like we get every week started off
Over.
with the releases of the week.
Releases of the week. Clap, clap.
It's nobody's birthday this week. If it's your birthday and you're going to tune into this stream later on because we don't have anyone in here right now, come and tell us.
Happy birthday, me.
Your birthday's not till June. My birthday is next week. It's a week from today, boys and girls. Get me something nice.
Wasn't Jesus born around this time?
Some might say. All right, releasing this week, the week of February, whatever today is, 23rd, we have on both consoles Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
I'm actually surprisingly excited about the game.
It's a fighting game, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every Dragon Ball Z game is.
Okay. I don't know anything.
You
about
create
Dragon Ball Z.
you create your worlds in this one, though, don't you?
I think you make a character and do some stuff with Trunks and
Yeah, it seems really awesome. I may actually
I
end
think
up
it's like
getting
an alternate universe or something like that where you go back as some other character that you create and try to resolve the I don't know. but
Dragon-
it's something along the lines of that if I understand
Yeah,
right.
I'm pretty sure in this game you go and you do things.
Dragon Ball Z is so much of my childhood. Like I feel like I don't know. There hasn't been a good Dragon Ball Z game though since like Budokai was out.
What system
Wasn't
was
there
that?
a game like last
That
year?
was
really
PlayStation
good?
2. You can get it for. I got it for 360. I have it on my 360. But it's like digital. Yeah. I bet you didn't expect there was going to be this much uprising about Dragon Ball Z.
No. I mean, I knew you were a Dragon Ball Z fan, and I thought you were, so.
I was a casual fan back in the 90s.
Well,
My wife is actually a Dragon Ball Z fan.
you think she would be
My wife
interested
is
in this
not.
game. You think she
Possibly.
wants to write a 15,000-word review on it?
I'll ask her.
What the Dragon Ball Z games I like the most are the ones that actually go into the real lore of the game, like that you play through the sagas. So I don't know if this game is going to be
I
that.
think it goes into like an alternate lore. I've seen some, on Twitch there are all kinds of people playing the Japanese versions of the game. And
Which is why you're so confused as to what the plot is.
exactly. But I've seen like the Cell Battlefield,
Cell games?
The Cell games where those took place. One of the places where they had that tournament sometime after Cell.
Oh, you mean that they have tournaments there all the time?
Well, it was after Cell.
The world championships.
Yeah, the World Tournament or whatever it was called. It's been 10 years.
Yeah, I watched it the other day. Every once in a while, I'll get on just for
S's and G's.
All right. Wasn't gonna say that, but that's
All right. Also releasing on both consoles, we have Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires and a game that Ben's probably super pumped for, Rugby 15.
You know, the first sports game I ever purchased was a rugby game.
For real.
Yeah.
I honestly
Not even
think
kidding.
The
they
EA
made-
rugby game.
Yeah.
I watched videos of this one. It looks horrible. I don't know anything about rugby, but I do know something about like how our joints work, and it didn't capture it.
I honestly didn't know they made a rugby video game.
EA Sports did one that was like biannual, I think, for a few years, and then realized, I don't know if they continued making it internationally and just stopped releasing it stateside, but yeah, this one looks horrible.
The only people I know in America that play rugby are the guys that go to colleges that don't have football teams.
Yeah.
Or the people who have a lot of brain damage.
Or a lot of testosterone.
Yeah. Or they go to an Ivy League school.
So that is that's everything that's releasing on both consoles here, and I thought I had. Oh, I do have it open. Releasing exclusively on the PlayStation 4 this week, we have that's coming out on both. We have Limbo, which was a critically acclaimed game that came out on PS3 and Vita. It's getting its PS4 port. It's a like side-scrolling adventure game, so that's cool. You get Resident Evil Revelations 2 Episode 1 coming to PS4 digitally.
That looks like it may take the Resident Evil series back to a creepy game. That would be nice. That'd be a nice change of pace.
Because you guys been saying, I'm not a big Resident Evil fan, but that it's been more of an adventure game, right?
Yeah.
In the last
or
few
action,
generations,
Yeah.
Like there's no like lack of ammo and like it's it's just kind of
It's just here's a horde, mow them down, have fun.
Also releasing on PS4, you'll like this one, Larry, I believe. Starwall. I'll read the description. Hold on, I have to compose myself. Flop it out with up to 4 players in a retro epic narwhal battle in space. The heart-piercing action is furious and unrelenting. Starwall will change your life. That's a lot of big promises.
It already has.
Could they have picked a worse, like, 6 words to start that description out with?
Yes.
They could have.
Viewers, email you.
And that is all that will be releasing exclusively on the PS4. And then coming out on Xbox One, we have Numa, Breath of Life. Play as a god, Numa, and listen to his comical, self-obsessed inner monologue whilst he takes you on a journey exploring and traversing his puzzling world. Rack your brain and progress through a series of environmental challenges that require perception, observation, and lateral thinking skills to succeed. It's a puzzle game.
It bothers me theologically.
all right.
Moving on. All right, so that wraps it up. Nothing too major this week. The Dragon Ball Z universe, I think, would be considered the biggest release for this week.
I may end up. I seriously may end up getting that game.
And that concludes our releases of the week.
Releases of the week. Clap, clap.
All right, moving on to news. We have a lot of items this week.
News with the podcast, guys.
Everyone loves them. Everybody loves them. Shout out to
Jingles.
Empty Vials. Thanks for tuning in. All right.
Happy birthday, Wyatt.
This was an interesting thing that came out of Reuters. I love video game news that comes from websites that have nothing to do with video games because it's kind of right up my alley of stuff I like to talk about. Sony has released their projections for the next couple of years, and they see a 25-fold profit jump by 2018. But the interesting part of this is that they believe that they will be exiting out of the TV and smartphone realm of things and moving in and putting all their eggs in the PlayStation basket. A couple weeks ago, they announced that they were going to be putting all of their entertainment services in under the PlayStation name, and now it's looking like they're going to just put all of their electronic eggs into that basket, and then obviously they'll still have their music and film studios and those sorts of things. So things are looking good for PlayStation. Your thoughts on this?
It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. I could have called the smartphone thing because I don't know if I've ever met someone with a Sony phone. But the TV kind of surprised me.
Well, the TV kind of got lost in no man's land, I think, because when the Bravia first came out, it was kind of like the grand, the best of the best, top of the line. My parents bought a Sony Bravia. I think
I've got
you
a
guys
Bravia.
have a Bravia, but like. Then Samsung started, I think, taking over really as some of the better high-quality TVs, and Vizio became a very good, solid quality option at a cheaper rate. And Sony just kind of got lost in no man's land. They weren't as good as the best, and they weren't as cheap as stuff that was pretty comparable to them. So it makes sense. Their TV sales have been falling off, but I like seeing that it was, I don't know, probably 18 months, 2 years ago. It was right before the release of the consoles that the argument started to go around that possibly console gaming was dying. And now here we are 2 years later, and Sony's like, we're putting all of our chips in the PlayStation cart because this is where our money lies. I love it.
Weren't they making a lot of like they're trying to do a lot of remote stuff with the TVs and things? Like you kind of like the PlayStation TV, but on your TV. Like if you had a Sony Smart TV, that kind of thing.
I'm not sure if they ever announced it. I know it was like a lot of projection that they were gonna put a lot of the functionality of the PlayStation TV and just build it into their TV models. But if they're backing out of it, I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see it either. But it's funny that they had that thought and then as close to that thought as they've had it. Because I remember as early as last year them talking about something like that. To drop out of that completely is kind of funny to me. But I mean, whatever. I'm not Sony, so I can't speak to what they want to do. Sorry, I'm thirsty.
Hey, you mind cracking that door? It's really hot in here. Is it? Yeah, I'm burning up. I'm roasting. I'm dying.
And
right.
It's interesting too because they're in a way they're pulling out of some markets and drawing in a bit, but in another way they're pushing out from where they have been and more into the entertainment side of things, not just gaming, but they've built. Although they're putting all their eggs in the PlayStation basket, they've added other things to the PlayStation basket with the TV thing, the rival to cable, all that jazz.
I want to just read this quote for you really quick, and this is from the Sony CEO, Kazuo Hirai. It says, quote, the strategy starting from the next business year will be about generating profit and investing for growth, end quote. Is that not the strategy for every year when you have a business?
I really like to maximize debt and I'm into the negative.
All right. Go ahead.
I had one last thing to say. Oh, yeah. And it's interesting, too, because at the launch of this console generation, there was...
Moving on. I'm just kidding. I know what you're going to say.
The Xbox was... I wasn't going to talk about the whining.
Oh, okay.
But now I have to because you brought it up. They're playing... No. The Xbox was the console focused on entertainment. That was such a detriment. But then... Obviously, PlayStation's moving that direction, too. And it's going to be interesting to see how the console wars develop now that this is just an accepted part of the consoles, I think.
Well, it's kind of moving along the way of... There were so many technologies that we had that were... Have you ever seen the picture of that old ad from like the 80s that has all this technology on it and people have their minds blown because it's like all the technology on the page of this ad is in our smartphone. And it's almost like the console is becoming the smart set-top box, where you used to have your cable set-top box, you had your VCR or your DVD player, and then you had your console. Now the console is kind of absorbing all of those things, and it's like we can be your cable set-top box, we can be your DVD player, we can be your computer, for cripe's sake. Cripes. You like that? All right. So I think it's interesting too. I think in the next 10 years we're going to look back and we're going to wonder like why we used to have 6 different boxes under our TV because our PlayStation or our Xbox covers everything that we need. And HoloLens projects the TV. We don't even have a TV to set stuff under. So next item on the list, Sony's Fred Dutton says that a PS4 firmware update is not too far off. We got our last major update in October.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
The major update.
Yeah.
For, what, 2.0?
Yeah. And so it's looking like they're going to be rolling out another major update for us. Soon.
Sony greatness waits.
That's right. So with this firmware update, what would you guys like to see included? This is hard. I'll kick it off. Friend notifications.
Yeah.
I will still never understand how we are in the year 2015 and we do not have friend notifications. I've got to go onto my friends list anytime I want to see if you guys are on.
One of my largest problems I agree with that. Just kind of like what Xbox does with partying up and joining people in games. If you want to send someone an invite, you've got to go through this long, almost grueling process to get into a game with someone. And the PlayStation, on the Xbox, it's when it works. Xbox has its own problems, but it's just a matter of saying, like, invite this person. Bam.
Do you think PlayStation would be willing to include Snap capabilities?
I don't think so. I think you got to design your whole console to be able to handle running those two things side by side like that.
Not that that would really blend in with the UI.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'd even want it. I don't use it all that often. I mean, except to snap friends or snap. Am I boring you?
No,
he hammed that
I
up.
slept till 12:30 today. I'm still super tired. I don't know why.
What was I saying?
I don't know.
UI,
form your console.
snapping.
Yeah, the only real time I use the snap function on Xbox is to snap friends or snap party. I don't really do anything else because snap achievements takes 4,000 years to load. But so I don't know if I necessarily want to see that on the PlayStation 4. But deliver on suspend and resume. That would be a big deal if I can cut my console into rest mode and then be able to start back up.
That was like a huge thing they said.
Yeah, I hope they deliver on a lot of the things that they promised before. But it's just around the corner. Maybe go ahead.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off. Finish what you're saying.
I don't remember what I was.
All right, my bad. No, I forgot. Oh, yeah. I'm not a PlayStation owner, but something that I would always like to see when they're updating is I've always thought that their UI could be much better than it is. I've never been impressed with Sony's, like, the menu and the navigation and all that. It's kind of confusing and not very user-friendly, in my opinion.
Well, my thing is my PlayStation generally works better than my Xbox, but my Xbox is a lot prettier in the UI.
Yeah. Do we have tile customization yet for PlayStation?
No.
That would be something I'd like to see. Because there's a lot of like that I don't, even if I play it, I don't want it in my like home screen because I don't play it very often.
Yeah, I wish they'd just come up with folders and you could just jump into the folders or, like you're saying, pin stuff to home screen. I like the suggestion from Empty Vials. He says, I think the PlayStation could definitely make use of having more buttons. I mean, in the friends list alone, you don't use triangle or circle 90% of the time. Triangle could easily be used to invite to current game or something like that. I like that idea.
I agree wholeheartedly with that.
I also like Xbox's feature where you can just invite the party all together.
Yeah, with your snapped party app.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed in having both consoles is that as ugly as Sony's UI can be sometimes, it functions way quicker. It's much more snappy than Xbox's. And so if we could merge the two and get kind of the usefulness and the consciousness of the UI for Xbox along with the responsiveness of PlayStation.
In the year 2020, the Sony Playbox.
That's right.
What if they did just decide to lay down their arms and come together?
That would defeat the purpose. That would remove all the fun from being able to talk about this stuff. I love talking about it. Here's an interesting article. Next item on the list. This is an article from Engadget, and it is titled, I will tell you in a moment, because it takes 500 years for Google Drive to load something.
What in God's name is that?
This is a picture of, I think this is actually from the Order 1886, but it's just like the glitch from Assassin's Creed, where only their eyes and mouth would appear. But this is from Daniel Cooper. It says, even Sony thinks that day one game patches are getting out of hand. And I'll just read the first paragraph to you. Being forced to wait for several hours for a day one update to download takes the shine off of buying a new game. What began as a way for developers to make some last-minute fixes has now enabled them to ship half-finished products and finish them long after purchase. It's become such a problem that even Sony's Jim Ryan agrees that the trend of massive time-consuming patches has gotten out of hand and is pledging that the company will tighten up its practices in the future. I'm trying to think. I don't know if there was. Yeah, there was a patch for the Order. But
did you see this faceless mutant?
No, I didn't see it.
Okay, good.
All right, what are your guys' thoughts, reactions?
I would love to see day one patches come to an end. When I bought the Master Chief Collection, before we even knew how broken that game was, like my first experience with it was just frustration that I had to go home and download a 10 gigabyte patch. I waited for 2 hours hoping that I would get to play, and it was the first Halo game that's come out that I didn't just play all the way through the night. Instead, I went to bed because I literally couldn't play it.
I am like, and I don't think this will ever happen. I'm almost to the like I would like to see the install stuff stop happening too. Like I know that's not possible. That's a.
Let's just go back to cartridges, guys.
I just remember like on 360, whenever I got a game, I didn't have to wait forever for it to install. Like I just put it in and I was able to play it almost right away. And PlayStation's always had the install thing, and the day one patch thing just adds to that frustration.
Well, you have the option of turning your internet off, and you can play it that way.
I don't mind the install thing that much, just because it makes loading times and stuff like that way better, and it's just better on the hardware in the long run to install a game rather than read it off of the disc. And so I don't mind the installing thing, but the day one patch, on the one hand, I can understand that you're having to get these things out to certification a few weeks before you announce that it goes gold, and in that amount of time, like that's cutting your dev cycle, 4 weeks to 6 weeks short. And so maybe you need to keep working on something, or maybe something comes up in the certification process that you need to take care of. But like, or at least give us the option that if there's going to be a patch, let us pre-download it before we jump in. And we could do. I could do that when I bought the game. When I bought Halo digitally, I could download that patch. But you buying it on the disc, you had to wait. And maybe that's just something that they want to set up as a benefit for buying digital. But it really is a disadvantage when you're having to wait for. I mean, you couldn't play it till the next morning, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So 10 hours later after release, and you couldn't put it in. But we have lost the luster of just buying new games and being able to just play them as soon as we get home, because we know it's going to have to install. We know it's going to have to install a day one patch. But the point that was it Jim Ryan? The point that Jim Ryan brings up at Sony is this is giving companies the leeway to release half-finished products and just say we'll take care of it later, when sometimes the game doesn't get taken care of later, or what they patch may fix the problem it's shipped with, but it creates 3 more problems. So
I wonder how many of the broken releases could be traced to them shipping an unfinished game and not realizing that their patch was going to cause problems that they didn't foresee.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Especially like Master Chief Collection. They knew there were issues, and I kind of get the vibe that they thought, all right, we'll ship it, we'll put this patch out, and everything will be good. But it wasn't.
4 months later.
It still isn't.
We're still waiting on the patch. What are your thoughts, Seth?
Well, I mean, we've talked about it time and time again. I'm just tired of, broken games, broken releases. I know we all are. But what can we do except stop buying video games?
Yeah, just waiting and making sure that we're buying the games new that deserve to be bought new, and no pre-orders.
No pre-orders. Hashtag
no pre-orders. Also in that article, I noticed that Sony putting in the day one patches, that's only true of Sony games specifically. Like games from other publishers, they kind of dodged the question on whether or not they'd be enforcing any kind of cutting other publishers out from day one patches. So, I mean, it's a start, but not every game is going to be held to that standard, it doesn't look like.
Right. Well, and most of the biggest releases for PlayStation are their exclusives. They're Uncharted's and their Last of Us, and Ratchet and Clank, or all the stuff that's going to be coming in the future. And so if they can start to set the trends with those, especially like Uncharted, then I think it can have some ripple effects throughout the market. But the day that we don't have day one patches is going to be a great day, fantastic day, awesome day. All right, let's get out of the bummer news. We've been talking about a lot of bummer news, and let's talk about something that we're all pretty excited about. The Division is going to be on display a week from today, March 2nd, at GDC, the Game Developers Conference. And rumors have been swirling about through some deciphering of Reddit that a public alpha is just around the corner for the Division. All right, let's talk for just a minute, because did you guys also participate in the Destiny alpha?
I didn't make it to the alpha.
I did the beta. Yeah.
What was it? Okay, I got to play in the alpha, and in the beta.
I think the alpha was closed and the beta was
open. Yeah, that is how that
yeah.
went. So, entering into the division, I think I am going to maybe not with the alpha so much, but when the beta comes, but partly with the alpha too. Like with Destiny, we all kind of convinced ourselves, like, okay, this is just a sliver of the game that we're getting a piece of, and then we realized that we played like 60% of the Cosmodrome in the beta.
Right.
And so with the alpha for the division coming out, I'm really going to allow this to kind of paint the picture of what this experience is going to be like, and not just write it off as, well, it's an alpha.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to do these sort of big public displays of your product, you need to be willing to show exactly what the consumers are going to be purchasing. Obviously not to the full degree of the $60 game, but enough to where us being excited about it can start to untemper our expectations because of what we get to see in the alpha.
You right.
You right.
You right.
I'm not going to if there are a lot of things that I'm like really down on in the alpha, then I'll let that kind of take seat. But if I'm going to rely more on the beta than the alpha, I think, just to because I feel like the alpha's not going to have hardly anything in it. But
it's going to be weird if the alpha is like fully public, which is what a lot of these articles I've been reading are speculating, is that everyone's going to get a chance to get in the alpha because almost all alphas are closed. So they need to at least be knowledgeable and thinking like, okay, we finally have something. Because really, outside of a couple just like really scripted gameplay videos, we haven't seen anything out of the division. And so they really need to be thinking like, okay, we've got something really worth showing to people.
And I'm wondering about the timeline of this. Like, just around the corner really has to be just around the corner because they plan on releasing this game 2015. If they're going to do an alpha and a beta. Like, I'm thinking right after GDC, this thing's going to pop up.
or at GDC, they're going to say alpha's open this weekend.
They're going to pull a hard line. All right, go right now.
I really hope not, because that was awful. Because it crashed PlayStation Network and it was bad. But I'm trying to remember the timeline for Destiny, because I felt like the alpha was, because that game released in September, right?
Mm-hmm.
The beta was in July or early August.
Close. It was close.
Early August.
I mean, I think we were just a few weeks out from the game.
I'm gonna look it up, and you guys are.
And we beat the game that night.
Yeah, we played like the whole thing. Destiny alpha and beta. All right. Any other thoughts on alphas? You wanna? we gotta.
I'm kind of wondering if, in the wake of all of the flack Destiny generated, if they're gonna back their hype train down a little bit. Like, if they're gonna go back on the scale of this game.
Here's the thing with me in regards to that statement. Like, if they have what I am thinking they have, and if they have what they've kind of been pushing that they have, you just like you jump all over that. The fact that Destiny kind of ended up being a flop, and you kind of ride that to your advantage and say this is nothing like what what Destiny was. So I don't know. That may be the jerk thing to do with it, but
okay. The alpha was in June, and the beta was in July. And so really, I mean, you can time this however you want, but it's a matter of whether or not your alpha is going to be a true test alpha or your beta is going to be a true test beta. Like Halo's beta was a true beta of we're gonna do this, and then we're going to take all the information and we're going to tweak our game, and we're going to rework maps and rework weapon balance and all of this stuff because we're still 10 months out from release or whenever it's going to release. Whereas Destiny's beta was a commercial beta of, hey, come and see. But I think I've said this almost every time that we've talked about the division. They have entered into this process, or they have continued in this process, fully aware of all the problems that Destiny had. Because I think if there's any game that we're going to be able to compare it to, it's going to be Destiny. This open world kind of social shooter that has a lot of high expectations about size of the world, interaction of other players, the story itself, and that's a good thing that they're entering into it knowing like Destiny let a lot of people down. And so we need to try to not let people down.
Yeah.
If they have any common sense at all, I think that they're going to avoid a lot of those Destiny problems like the plague.
Yeah.
And my whole thing with them is the same thing that I thought about last week. Just as long as they're upfront about what their game is, I'm cool. If it's not this massive, humongous thing, that's cool. As long as it's not presented to me as such.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think they're going to be really clear at GDC. I think this is going to be the first time they're going to talk at length about this game. And kind of give a good rundown of the details. But it's going to have to be clearly communicated or else we're going to have another Destiny situation on our hands. Next item on the list, Project Cars has been delayed from its not original, I think it was delayed even before this, been delayed from its March 17th release date to April 7th. And here is a quote from studio head Ian Bell. Says, moving a release date was not an easy decision to make, as we know our fans are eager to get their hands on Project Cars, but we know that these extra days will allow us to provide the best game experience that our fans deserve. We assure you the wait will be worth it when the game does arrive in early April, end quote.
Can I just jump right in?
Yeah.
I kind of want to call bullcrap on that because the first time they delayed, their reasoning was we're in this window with all these other racing games, and we just want to push back because we don't want to release at the same time as them and just get lost in the mass. And now this tells me that your game actually wasn't ready for that window, and then you didn't have it ready for this window. Just be honest. Our game's not ready. We're pushing back.
Yeah.
Which they're honest this time. That's cool. But the first time, obviously, they weren't ready to go.
Yeah, I don't really understand how much you can do in 3 weeks. I don't know. I also don't know a ton about game development.
I've made 0 games.
How many games have you made, Seth?
I'm working on my 5th IP.
Ben?
We'll talk later.
I've written a whopping -1.
I've made
Negative 1?
Yeah.
You actually destroyed a game.
He's the guy who destroyed Flappy Bird. I've actually just been stealing all of Seth's source code and releasing it 2 weeks before he gets a chance to.
And when I say I've made games, I mean I've written fan fiction about Lego Harry Potter.
My feature film is releasing in 3 weeks nationwide. I don't mind delays at all. I know a lot of people get bent out of shape about them. I didn't even make that connection. I didn't even go into looking why they delayed before. But that's funny. They were just like, we don't want to release in the mess of all this when really your game just wasn't ready. And I think March 17th is another one of those dates that's kind of stacked. Well, March itself with Bloodborne. And then I imagine that a lot of racing fans are also sports fans. You have MLB The Show coming out that month, so backing up from some of those things. But if you deliver on that, game looks beautiful. I don't know how in depth it's going to be, but screenshots of it look amazing. All right, next item on the list: video game and toy collectible maker Nika is manufacturing a DOT-approved Master Chief motorcycle helmet. I'm going to pull up a picture of this. Do you see this yet?
I have not.
I mean, it looks like a Master Chief helmet, but this thing's awesome.
So when I buy my moped,
You know what would be even better about this helmet?
Check that out.
I haven't read this article.
You want to put that on your head?
Mother of God.
I don't think they announced the price on it. No, they didn't.
What would be great is if you could Bluetooth your heads-up display from your motorcycle to the
I don't
to
think
the
it's called
screen.
heads up.
Spencer, I'll make it so.
I might buy that helmet even though I don't have a motorcycle and just use it.
I'll just drive in the car
Just
with
drive
that
my
on.
car with that helmet.
What if they built it so that HoloLens fits inside of it, and so you can play Halo 5 Guardians inside of your Master Chief motorcycle helmet?
Name your Malibu the Warthog and go to town.
How much would you pay for that experience, Ben, and how many zeros are at the end of it?
3.
3 zeros.
Yes.
$10,000.
But there's a point. There's
That's
a
4
dot.
zeros.
There's a dot in between the first zero and the second zero.
$10.
That helmet does look awesome, though. And if I wasn't terrified of riding on motorcycles, which I am, I would totally get one of these and ride on it.
This just seemed like really, really cool. I wish it had a voice box in it that you could like
Talk like Steve Downs.
yeah.
I've always really envied those like super geeks that just have the know-how to make their own Spartan armor, because that's something that I would.
Hey, super geeks out there, if you're listening to us, make us some Spartan armor. I want some Navy Spartan armor. What color you want?
Cobalt.
Cobalt. You want some green
I'm good.
Spartan armor?
I am cool.
I want it functioning though, so I can like jump in zero gravity areas. I want to be able to lift a lot of heavy stuff. I want to be able to use a battle rifle.
According to the fiction, you would snap all kinds of arms in half and stuff if you didn't have the Spartan strength.
Okay.
People don't realize the Spartans are augmented physically as well, so they've got more strength and way better reaction time. And so there's a part in the books where they put a regular Marine in the Spartan armor, and the Spartan armor enhances your reaction time. But if you don't have the already enhanced reaction time, you don't have the reaction time to deal with it.
He tries to lift his arm, just move his arm up, and it breaks his arm.
He tries to salute and breaks his arm, but then the way he reacts to the broken arm, he winds up killing himself as he just pummels himself.
Oh,
wow.
So good luck. And
I have
I'll
enhanced
see you in another life.
Spartan strength. I've been. You guys don't know this, but I've been through the rigorous training that is involved. I was actually born in a bubble as a Spartan.
Episode 50 is just us watching Ben get ripped apart by the fan-made Spartan armor that somebody sends him.
It's hydraulic. It can be hydraulic. Just don't make the weird the things. Make it all hidden hydraulics.
The things.
The weird.
The little the pistons. Don't have the pistons outside the thing. Just have it inside the armor so you can't see it.
Inside where they'll pinch your flesh.
Yes, I'd rather my flesh be pinched than
it not look cool.
Yeah.
Like high-heeled shoes.
Exterior features: ABS shell with matte UV protection clear coat.
You're
Front
just
area
reading the
things.
details of it. Okay, moving on.
Cool helmet.
Oh,
though.
yeah, they also came up with a Halo needle or dart gun. Hold on. Let's check this out. This thing looks pretty awesome, too. What do you think of that, Larry? None of our podcasts.
So do the needles actually go down through the top?
I doubt it. You probably have to remove them and put them in manually.
Nah, they're backwards. You see it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It
That's
looks
a shame.
neat, though.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Way to ruin it.
Alrighty, moving on. PlayStation TV will now be offered in a bundle with a new PS4 purchase at GameStop and Best Buy. This is good news for Dizzy, who is thinking about entering into the PlayStation 4 world. Ben, thoughts?
I haven't heard a whole lot of great stuff about the PlayStation TV. I read part of that IGN review, and it was, everything where I got was just, it was like it was a worse Vita.
Well, it's a stationary Vita, and I guess it's cool if you live in a house with other people who like to use your TV, and you can remote play to it. You can also play the Vita games on it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the Vita games are designed specifically for that peripheral, and so playing it with a controller kind of defeats the purpose of playing the game itself. I'd have much rather seen PS4 get bundled with the Vita like they speculated for so long. Vita has a pretty decent lineup of games coming out this year, and the remote play functionality with the PlayStation 4 makes it a perfect companion to bundle in with this stuff and say, hey, you can buy the console with The Last of Us for $400, or you can buy the console with a Vita for $450. That would be cool, and it gets you a better install base to go with, and I think that would just be much more functional. I like the idea. Oh, somebody recognized you on the stream. That's kind of creepy.
Who are you?
All right. But yeah, the PlayStation TV, I think it's cool for it. I think a lot of people are confused as to what the PlayStation TV does. It's not really communicated. This is Sony's problem. They suck at
marketing.
At marketing their hardware. They do a great job at marketing their software, but when it comes to their hardware, they changed the name of this thing 3 or 4 times before it ever released in the States. I think it's called the PlayStation Vita TV in Japan. Your consumers aren't going to buy something that they don't know what it is and what it does. And just having that thing up on a shelf at GameStop isn't going to get it to sell. And people have to do their research to find out even how it functions. I know that you can remote play on same network. Can I remote play like I do on my Vita on it? Do you know? Anyone know?
I think maybe.
I'm not sure if you can, but anyway, that's just a rant for a different day. This is Tristan. We graduated in 2007, bro.
Yes, I remember you, Tristan. Hey, you were present for the epic dance off. I was just telling that story last night, wasn't I?
The awkward dance off.
The one that ended with a. Never mind. I'm not going to say that on the stream.
He shot a guy, basically. All right, Xbox One is rolling out a preview update that adds several features, including screenshots. It also includes variable tile transparency and more. I'm getting to the more, but Google Drive, I hate it. All right, screenshots, some updates to the Upload app, suggested friends. You're going to be able to share your real name, which will be cool. It'll say Ben Haskins is logged on. Larry Hunt has logged on. Since Tristan. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We had a sign-up sheet one time that his name got put on by somebody who had just met him, and they put Ben Haskins. It also had like a billion other typos on it. But anyway.
Who did this sign-up sheet?
I don't know who it was.
Yeah, somebody just put it on without asking me. That's what it was. It was the setup team.
Yeah.
For events, and they didn't even ask me.
That's right. Some privacy stuff. You'll be able to report spam. A bunch of different features out. But screenshots is the big one. And I hope you can just say, Xbox, screenshot that.
I'd be surprised if you can't.
Let's see. Oh, yep. Xbox, take a screenshot. That's the Connect command. I need to try this out because I have this. I'm in the preview program. I need to send you your invite again.
You do. You do.
Xbox blows me away with how quickly they get this stuff out. Like, very good. Very cool. That's a short item on the list. All right, next thing. Capcom insists that PS4 action RPG Deep Down is still in development. Capcom's Yoshinori Ono says, quote, "The ideas we have for the game are much larger now compared to when we first announced it. Rather, the ideas we had before might not have been good enough." I feel like we're hearing that, end quote. I feel like we're hearing that excuse more from companies about why stuff hasn't been given like a timetable for release. Is like, we're constantly going back and reworking how we want to do it. Like that was Drive Club's problem, was we wanted to become something, and so we stepped back and reworked it, and then we released a year later than we were going to release. This game looks awesome. Seth and I watched the video. What did you think about it, Seth?
I was really impressed. I mean, my first question was, how in the world is this free?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a free-to-play game, if I'm remembering correctly.
Well, if it is, it looks way too impressive, and there's got to be a catch. And if there's not, then I
don't want to know.
Reaffirmed in humanity.
Key, what were you going to say?
Nothing.
Oh, you sounded like
Nothing
you were about to chime in. Oh,
I had a joke,
yeah, free to play.
The joke wasn't funny. Didn't make my joke.
It's missing in action, free to play, action role playing game is still alive. Yeah, so that's still in development. Also, The Last Guardian is still in development. A bunch of people started freaking out because Sony let the copyright lapse on it, but they confirmed that The Last Guardian is still in development. Last, Harmonix is developing a new.
I'm sorry. This is a good time to plug that Diz is working on an interesting write-up on games that were supposed to be developed and just disappeared.
Yeah, Dizzy is going to be releasing Tuesday articles. One of the articles is going to cover games that never made it to market, and then another one is going to be called To Fund or Not to Fund, where he takes items and gadgets that are found in video games and asks the question, should we pour resources into funding them? So I think his first article is about the gravity hammer for Halo.
Yeah.
And, so
I've heard it's really funny.
Yeah, so that's going to be awesome. Check that out on player3podcast.com this week.
And for you, Tristan, Diz is John Cooper.
Yes. If you're still here. Harmonix is developing a new rock band for Xbox One and PS4. This is not officially confirmed, but it is basically confirmed. So,
what does that even mean?
Yeah, it was. Well, hold on. I'll just you guys react to this, and then I'll tell you what the article says.
Oh, react right now.
Yeah, we have some rock band fans.
Oh,
in here.
cool, rock band.
I would love it if it's happened.
I feel like singing now. I don't really.
You know what I would love? You know what I'd want to happen though if this happened? The ability to buy the songs from the old rock bands.
I'm sure they'll make that happen. And I think that's where a lot of this DLC marketplace came from. Is I didn't see it as much until Rock Band came out and you started being able to buy Green Day packages for $5. And
Harmonix, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you are, because we're very popular in the development world. If you're listening to this,
so
Harmonix,
popular.
If you release a Rock Band game for current gen consoles and you allow me to purchase all the songs from the past consoles, I would pay upwards of $100 for that.
What?
Okay,
Yes.
Here's the quote. I can't.
I'm not kidding. I'm very serious.
I believe you.
I'm very serious. So you have at least $100 sale right there if you.
I want them to employ the Kinect. Can I just? Do you need to go?
No, you're good.
I want them to employ the Kinect, and so we can add. You can like if you can't play an instrument, you can be a background dancer for the band, or you're a guy in the crowd just waving a lighter. That'd be nice.
You know what I would even like?
For all the other guys at the party in your living room can feel involved.
You know what I would even? You know what I would even like?
Idea, actually.
Beyond that $100 purchase of DLC, I would love not even a new Rock Band game, just a Rock Band game with all the Rock Bands together for current gen consoles. Like Harmonix, that's not even that much work. You just have to make it to where you have peripherals for the new consoles. That's it. That's it.
I think Diz said he just wants peripherals that don't break.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Can you give us real working peripherals outside of the game?
A
Like I can make
cheat
music
code
with
where
it.
everyone in the audience has the Assassin's Creed Unity face with no skin.
Eyeballs in their mouth. Here's the quote. It says, and this was just in a report for Bloomberg Business. Quote, while we still don't have anything to announce, hundreds of thousands of unique users are still actively playing Rock Band games each month. This passion our fans have shown for Rock Band over the years suggests that rock truly hasn't died. And we've always been clear that we'd love to return to the franchise when the time is right, unquote. And so basically, this is going to happen. It's a money-making machine. Anything where you get to sell your own peripherals and require that those peripherals be used is going to be a money-making machine, and something as beloved as Rock Band. I'm just hoping that they have a Rock Band Milli Vanilli.
Basically, it got released last week.
Girl, you know it's girl, you know it's
Girl,
girl.
you know
It tracks your lip movement and not the tone that you put out to make sure that you're in sync with the music, and then it will randomly like make it skip and do that, and you got to keep up with it and really play it off.
Yeah.
Wild speculation.
You set your coffee on the stage dash.
You sit your coffee on the keyboard.
All right. That's it for news. We blazed through the news.
News with the podcast,
It's all right.
guys.
We've got plenty to talk about here.
We're only like 46 minutes in. Shouldn't
Happy
we
birthday,
be running
Wyatt.
way behind by this point?
Yeah, seriously.
We're rolling right
But
along.
we do have 2 viewer questions and we have 2 games to review, so we still have a lot to talk about. This
Oh,
is
we also have. Do we not have one for this week
I don't know what you're talking about.
of Seth's jingle that he gets to do?
Oh, are we ready now?
No, I don't know if we have one. We
I
don't really have
want
anything
to do
wildly
something so I can hear
speculate
him
about.
do it.
I mean, you can just do it if you want.
I don't know what you're talking
No,
about.
there's got to be some setup.
Wild speculation.
Can we speculate about the new Rock Band game?
I thought I saw
think
wild
we just
speculation.
Yeah, we kind of just did.
Yeah, it's on there, but I never figured out something we could wildly
If
speculate.
it comes up naturally, someone just like give me a hard shove and I'll.
Yeah, I
let
got you,
loose.
man. I'll punch
All
you right in the kidney.
We're gonna, if we say it again, then I'll stab you with a hunting knife in your neck.
I mean, do it anywhere but the neck. If you do it in the neck, you can't do the jingle.
Okay, I'll stab you in your chest.
As he's choking on blood. All right, here's some viewer questions. If you ever have questions, you can put those in the comments on the live stream, or you can email us at
This is the
player3podcast@gmail.com.
time of the show where we read off viewer questions.
He just sang over
That's
the plug.
the worst jingle I think that you've ever come up with.
Mostly because it was like a terrible 1997. Like,
I'm just
It
gonna
felt like a
sing
country
Sin
song to
Sin
me.
Did it
Joy.
seem like a country song?
Like, I'm going to go kill Luke's dog, so we have a dead dog to sing about.
just 4 guys and this dead dog.
That's our first stream ever.
Yeah, where Ben Walt worked.
Walt worked. It was
I did. I waltz worked on the living room wall. It was great.
like glorious, but also horrific.
People said a lot of
Bad things about it.
uncouth things
Said a
about
lot of bad
my
things
future
about
wife
And your dog.
and my dog. Yeah,
it.
Who
Just
didn't
3
move the
guys, 2
entire
girls,
time.
and this dead dog.
That's right.
Good times.
How did we
Great
get here?
times.
All right, viewer questions.
Of the week, time we sing viewer questions.
This question comes from Jonathan. Actually, both questions come from Jonathan. Thanks, Jonathan. Hey, guys. I want to hear... Hi, Jonathan.
Hey.
I want to
Hey.
hear your views on the whole Peter Molyneux situation, with him now refusing to talk to any kind of press. Is this just showing that he is just running away from the whole situation that his Kickstarter has gotten him into? Do you think he should honor the backers of Godus with some kind of reward, or do you think he is in the right not to honor anything, though they did not make the total they were looking for? All right.
Let's get some setup of the situation first.
Okay. If I understand correctly as to what happened, this is basically what happened. Peter Molyneux used to work at a big developing studio. He was like a big name developer, and he kind of has a track record of making promises that he doesn't keep. But he got out of that market and decided that he was going to make his own small studio, and he had an idea for one of those like God games for mobile called Godus, where you would be able to, and so he goes to Kickstarter to get him to back the project. And he also has this contest where one of the backers would win like the ability to be a character in the game, and then he would receive royalties from the sale of this game as once the multiplayer section of it went live. I don't believe the project itself made it all the way to its goal, but it did get enough to at least get some fashion of a release. It was just completely stripped of a lot of the features. It just had a single player mode. However, none of this was communicated to the winner of the contest, who received none of the royalties because the multiplayer part of the game that he was going to be a part of never actually got released to the thing. So this guy was expecting cash to be coming in from this game and did not get it to come. And then everybody else is mad because they backed a project that was promised to have multiplayer, persistent servers, those sorts of things, and they weren't. Those promises weren't delivered on. And then Peter Molyneux, when he was told all of this, basically said, well, it wasn't told to me that we weren't communicating with this guy. I feel really bad that we weren't communicating with this guy, but I'm not talking to the press anymore about this situation, and ran away basically from it. And so the question is, do you think that he should honor the backers of Godus by giving them some sort of a reward? Thoughts? Begin.
I don't even know where to begin.
This guy sounds like not a cool guy. Not a cool guy.
You're not a very nice dude, Molyneux.
I don't know if he. Here's how Kickstarter works, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you aren't guaranteed anything by backing somebody on Kickstarter.
No, you're just contributing money to try and make something happen. Okay,
so one, this is a sucky situation for somebody else who has a legitimate idea. Well, not that this idea wasn't legitimate, but who is driven to meet the desires of the people who actually devote money to their cause on Kickstarter or something like that. But also, like this, he's not technically in the wrong. I mean, morally he's wrong, but like the people that put money into what he's doing aren't guaranteed really anything. He could say, "I'm going to make, I want to make a fish taco stand, and I want to buy an RV to do that. You guys want to start me on that journey?" And then
and if you give $250, we can tour the east coast of the United States.
Right, and then I just go buy fish tacos for myself and eat them.
The fish taco RV. I don't know that I would want to purchase
my
one.
boss tells a story he read somewhere on the news or saw on the news somewhere that about a woman who was like $250,000 in debt. She went on to some website and started pleading her case to people. Set up an account. Was like, "Could you please donate money to me and my family? We are in debt. Please help make our lives, livable." And people ended up donating like upwards of $500,000 or something like that. And so she actually turned a profit off of this. So my boss wants to do a thing like create a web page and be like, "Please donate money to help make our lives better," and see just how much cash he can roll in. That's what I think of every time I look at Kickstarter. I know a lot of great things come out of it. They have. But I'm sure a lot of people just get screwed over in the process.
There's a ton of government systems where that's the case. Like, there's a lot of, let's look at like welfare for a second. Let's not get into political discussion, but seriously, like, how many people do you think actually need welfare and who are just on it because it's easy? Like, there's probably a considerable amount that actually need it, but
You're in the political discussion.
Moving on.
I'm just saying, like, it's the same kind of thing with Kickstarter. Like, I can just have this off-the-wall crazy idea and throw it on there, and there's no accountability with what I do with that money. Like, I can do whatever I want with it. And
you can we could spend an hour and a half just coming up with crazy Kickstarter schemes, like wild speculation. Wild speculation!
It's not really speculation.
Well, there he has a point.
This is that. That is the nature of Kickstarter. If you're going to give money on Kickstarter, you've got to understand you might get nothing in return for it. And this is by far not the first thing on Kickstarter to not make its goal. And yeah, it would be really cool of Peter to give all the money back, but the nature of Kickstarter is that he's not obligated to do anything,
right?
Which kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
Long story short, I think he's in the wrong, but...
Long story short, I disagree with the entire welfare system of America.
Welcome to Political Avoidance 3 podcast. I'm going to tell a story. It's a bit parabolic, but it actually happened this week. So it kind of gained some steam on the Destiny subreddit, the PlayStation 4 subreddit, and possibly the Xbox One, where a kid was playing Destiny, got partied up with a guy for a raid, I believe, and the guy said, "Hey, I know a glitch that you can do that will take you from your current level 21 and give you a level 30 or whatever. And but you got to give me control over your character." This kid's like 11 years old. He's like, "Well, rather than do all the work, I'm just going to give control over to this guy." So he gives control over to the guy via
Does it count?
SharePlay.
Oh, okay.
Via SharePlay, and walks away. While the kid is away from his controller, the guy who took over for him begins to delete all 3 of his characters, which is funny until you get to the end and the kid's crying, and then it's hilarious.
Larry almost spilled his coffee everywhere.
But anyway, the moral of the story is this. Should that guy have done that? No. It's stupid. There was no other reason to do it except for the fact that he was just being a jerk. But then, should the kid have been looking for an easy way to go from 23 to 30? No.
And so he learns with American children these days.
That's right, entitlement. They all just want to end up on that welfare.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so but within this story is Peter Molyneux completely in the wrong for it's a question of what is right and what is correct. What is correct is Peter Molyneux can walk away from this and not have talked to anybody about it because that's the nature of Kickstarter. What is right is to say, hey, we're working our fingers to the bones to make sure we deliver on what you guys put your money into. And so, but what happens? Everybody learns a lesson. That guy got raked over the coals on the internet for deleting a kid's characters, and that kid learned that you don't give complete control of your PlayStation over to a stranger.
Right. Well, he's only level 21, though. Who cares? I mean, it's low level in Destiny, seriously.
But I was talking with Dizzy about this earlier before we started. A lot of people misunderstand what they're doing with Kickstarter. And a lot of people think that when I give money to Kickstarter, I'm paying for a product. No, you're paying for a concept. You're paying for a project. Mm-hmm. And it's like if I gave $60 to Ready at Dawn to produce the order, I'm giving it directly to the studio to help with the development costs. And maybe they'll give me a game if it gets finished, rather than paying $60 to GameStop and getting the game itself. And so a lot of people enter into Kickstarter thinking that they're buying a product. And so if we went out there with our RV fish taco stand and we had no intention of actually making an RV fish taco stand.
It's already out there, by the way, if you want to donate.
You're investors, not customers.
No, you're not investors either.
You're not investors?
No, you're not considered an investor because an investor gets a return. And
you're not guaranteed a return
investors
at all.
Always get a return?
Yeah, if you invest
I mean, not always. You can lose money, but
yeah.
This you are just losing money. There's no possibility.
Right, you're not paying for a stake in the company. When you're an investor, you're paying for a stake in the company, and you say, "Hey, I'm gonna front $250,000 for 4% of your company."
Well, I'm saying you might get something cool as your perk, but
yeah, you
got to realize you may not too.
You're investors. You're not like investors. Yeah. You're because investor means like you have a stake in the company, and if you own enough of it, you get a say in the company as well. And you don't get any say. It's crowdfunding, and that's the nature of crowdfunding. And look, so you gave $20, or you gave $50, or however much you gave to this thing, and it didn't come. If you had $50 to throw at a video game project, then you lost it. Whatever, like just deal with it. That's life. Learn.
That's life.
Don't do Kickstarter. That's why I like Patreon so much. Is with Patreon, you're making promises to your customer that you're going to deliver in these certain ways, and if you don't deliver, they have every right to get their money back. There's accountability both ways. So, next question. This is also from Jonathan. I want to ask: should Sony make another handheld after the PS Vita? The PSP was very successful, and the PS Vita, well, I think it started well, but this year's lineup for the handheld is terrible. That's not necessarily true. Why is it all indie games that we blah, 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 blah. Basically, should Sony attempt to release another handheld post Vita?
Nah, man. Maybe in the distant future, but I think based on what half the people in this room, 2 out of 4, have a Honda Vita. and subsequently returned that Vita.
Nobody owns it anymore?
For store credit. It's got some cool functions like remote play. It's got some cool games like Uncharted, the Jack and Daxter collection, yada yada, things that go well with handheld.
It's all nostalgia, though.
Well, not all nostalgia, but it's a cool little toy to have. And some people would say it's an integral part of the PlayStation experience, but those people are the very, very dedicated, the Geek Squads. I don't know. I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think Sony would necessarily say that it's worth it to go through the process of creating another handheld.
I think if you're gonna make another, you're rearing up. I think if you're gonna make another handheld device, you need to make sure that you're comparable to what your competition's doing. Like your competition right now is the DS. Like Xbox doesn't have a handheld system. There's not really anything else that's handheld that's holding a candle to Nintendo or Xbox. So and Vita, I would not say is comparable to the DS right now. I mean, you got remote play, which is awesome, and if it works, but I could never get mine to work. It may just be because my internet's terrible.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
But I had like nostalgia games that I loved playing on the Vita. Like I love the Jack and Daxter series. I played that; it was great. And I never really played anything. The only other thing I played on it was the season 1 of Walking Dead, and that was pretty cool. But Vita doesn't grab like my attention like my console does, and it doesn't grab my attention like my DS does. And I feel like if you're going to make a handheld system to try to compete with another company, instead of just pouring everything you have into what your console is doing, because hands down, I feel like PlayStation is obliterating Nintendo in the console market, but in the handheld or in the like at-home console market, but in the handheld, Nintendo is like, I feel like leaps and bounds above PlayStation.
Nintendo's been in the handheld game for 20 years, if not more. I think the Vita's one of its many problems is that it tries to provide a console experience on a handheld device, and those two things don't necessarily go together quite so well.
Well, and a lot of their the creativity behind the development of the Vita rests in the back touchpad, which often is underutilized because it's uncomfortable to use. And if you're going to want to provide a console experience, you need to provide something that's comparable in console controls. And so just adding a trigger to it would, make it 1,000 times better, especially if you're going to rely so much on remote play as being something that sells the console itself or the handheld unit itself. The thing that sets the Vita apart from the DS is the remote play functionality. But here's the thing. Sony's based in Japan, and their second biggest market is here in America, or their biggest market is here, and then Japan. But in Japan, they have gone past the console experience, past the handheld experience, and are now resting in the mobile experience, where most people are wanting to play games on their phones, and because it's with them, they don't want to have to carry around it. And then if there are people that are interested in handhelds, they're playing the DS. It's just not that much.
Yeah.
Whereas here, if you want a console experience, you're just going to play on a console, And then if you want a handheld experience, you're just going to buy a DS probably. And so I don't see PlayStation doing it. Should they do it? I don't think so. Keep doing what you do well and put money into what you do well. The Vita hasn't sold very well, and it's become a remote play machine for a lot of its owners. I'm sure there's people on it that like some of the games that have released on it, but for the most part, it's a niche device. And so put your eggs in the basket that you know is a pretty safe bet. That's my thoughts.
You right?
That's just my thinking. All right. You have any thoughts?
No.
Class. All right.
Classic Larry.
All right. Let's move on to reviews.
Isn't that yours?
We got reviews for you.
I was going to try to make your...
Why are multiple
thing.
people singing on this podcast now?
Because we love it. We like bringing joy to the whole world. All the boys and girls. Joy to the fishies in the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. Right? All right.
No.
Let's start with you guys.
Yes?
I feel like I've been talking a lot, so talk about Evolve. What are your thoughts on Evolve?
Ooh.
Ooh, the lady.
I'll say I think I mentioned it in last week's podcast that I gave the beta a shot. I hadn't really been looking forward to Evolve. Just I hated Left 4 Dead.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know you didn't. I didn't know you didn't like it.
Yeah, I hated it because it was the same thing repeated over and over and over again, and I didn't play it online. I just found it really droll.
Mm-hmm.
Droll.
But
That's a good word.
Thank you. I majored in English.
You did.
But anyway, got caught up in talking about English.
Found it droll. You
I
didn't like
gave the beta a shot. It looked really good. I really was excited. Well, I wasn't really excited, but I was interested in playing as the monster, and I made it through the tutorial in which you play as the monster, and I thought, this isn't for me, man. It was the last day the beta was open. I played that. I gave it up. I said, I'm not buying this game. I'll leave it to Ben. And then, the release day comes, and I have people, I know start buying the game. They start talking it up, and, I keep looking at it more and more, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just, I'll give this game one more shot. I'll actually play it online. If I drop $60, I don't like it, I'll return it or sell it to Ben.
Although I had purchased it with you.
Well, you did. There goes that pipe dream. But anyway, I put the game in my console. It comes in a crazy awesome slipcover with a little footprint that's dented in, which that impressed the heck out of me.
That was the main reason you purchased the game.
Well, it wasn't the main reason, but
It's on up there.
it was the icing on the cake. But I get it in, and it is every bit probably, if not more repetitive than Left 4 Dead. But at the same time, it's really not, because you may go through this, like, there are a series of little cutscenes that you go through at the beginning, and they vary depending on which characters you use. They have interactions as they're going into this mission. But there's actually a ton of variety in, like, the evacuation campaigns and things like that. Ben, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about the character side of it, too. I don't know if you're trying to talk about that, or...
No, I don't care.
Okay.
Let's share alike.
It's conversational.
Yeah, I just didn't want to steal his step on his funk if he's trying to talk about
I
the...
have no funk. Man.
But the evacuation, the way the evacuation thing, where we played a couple of the separate missions that you can do multiplayer-wise, but the way the evacuation side of the multiplayer works, you play a 5-day campaign where the first day you're hunting the monster. It's always hunt on the first day. The 3 subsequent days you do different things. You could
nest where you attack some eggs and the monster's trying to hatch the eggs at the same time.
Or a rescue where you rescue people that are at spawn points. Yes.
How long is a day in real time?
It's one round.
One match.
It's like a match. It's what
15 to 20 minutes usually, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and then each day at the end there's another one too, rescue, nest.
Defend is the last game day. It's in which the monster starts off at stage 3, and it has minion monsters that respawn every so often after they die, and they're trying to attack 3 different generators, each in turn, and the hunters get unlimited spawns to try to defend these, and
it's actually
all out
a lot.
chaos.
It's super balanced, and it's actually a lot more intense than it sounds. But the way each day that you go through an evacuation round, whoever wins that day gets a buff, or not. In some cases, that's an extra thing that happens in the next round.
They get a little extra thing, and then the monster gets like a further balance buff to try to level it out a little more. And the more the hunters win, the more tough the monster gets, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
So each team gets a handicap depending on what how well they do the previous day. And that's a lot of fun. I mean, I like every game that we played so far within the multiplayer seems pretty awesome. But my big thing with this game, I was a little bit nervous starting out because I didn't know how the player progression was going to go. I didn't know how if you decide to play a role, if you're going to be stuck in just a really cookie cutter box role of what you're supposed to be doing. But the way the player progression works, you unlock players fairly quickly. I think the second time we played, I had all my hunters unlocked because I like to play as the medic, so I had all 3 of the medic hunters unlocked. And the hunters are vastly different from character to character. There's a lot of different roles that they can play. Val's the first, and I'll just talk about the medics because that's all I've really played a lot as. But Val's the first medic you get. She has a single-shot sniper rifle. She's got a med gun, which heals all your teammates. The sniper rifle puts damage boosters on the monster. She has a healing burst that you can use. That's her class ability. And then she has a tranquilizer gun that slows the monster down and like lights it up for everybody to see. If you played the beta, that's probably and you played as a medic, that's the person who you played as in the beta. And you may have gotten to the point where you unlock the second character. She's pretty cool. She's kind of Val's. She's not really damage oriented. She's a lot more like heal the group and help track the monster. That's kind of what her whole specialty is. But moving on, if you played the beta a lot, you may have gotten to Lazarus, who was the second medic that you'd unlock. Lazarus has this really cool thing called the Lazarus device. It brings your dead friends back to life, which is pretty cool. You can revive without a revival penalty, so like you don't lose a respawn life if you use that.
Depending on your game mode.
Yeah, depending on the game mode you have. He also has a semi-automatic sniper rifle that does the same kind of damage buff to the monster. It's a lot easier to use though because it's semi-automatic, so you don't have to. It's not a bolt shot sniper rifle. It's like you can hold the trigger down, and if you miss one, you've still got a couple more that you can shoot at it. It also does a little bit more damage than the single shot sniper rifle. He has a healing burst as well. All the medics have that. And his last, I can't remember what his last thing is. He doesn't have a tranq gun like Val. He's got the semi-automatic.
The invisibility.
Yeah, he has invisibility, so he can cloak himself and the team to go and use that Lazarus device on people. He's probably my least favorite medic. The last person you unlocked after him, and the way you unlock these hunters, you have to 1-star. They each have like three different I don't know, challenges you have to.
You level up each individual ability the hunter has.
They have 3 different challenges you have to level up, and that's how you move to the next hunter. The last hunter is my favorite by far. Her name's Sierra or
Kyra.
Kyra? I don't. Yeah, Kyra. Whatever. It's spelled like Sierra. So.
No, it's not.
Yeah. She is my absolute favorite hunter. She has this grenade launcher thing that switches from a napalm grenade launcher to a healing burst grenade launcher, and you just like flip back and forth. It's the same gun.
Speed boost too, right?
Yeah, it's the same gun, and you flip back and forth between the two, and you can
What happens if you mess up and napalm your friends and heal the monster?
It doesn't. You can't do it though. It doesn't work that way.
It's the yin and the yang.
But she the reason I like her so much is because you can deal a ton of damage with her. And the other two, you can't really help with fighting the monster much at all. But with her, you can deal a ton of damage to the monster.
And that's where a lot of the variety comes in, and why I think I like this a lot better than Left 4 Dead is because depending on which character you play, and even if like Ben and I'm sure play Val very different ways. Like me playing with Ben when he was the medic, he likes to be right in on the action. Me, when I'm playing as Val, the same character, I'll use that med gun and stay at a distance and try to heal from afar, and then try to mark and weaken the monster with my sniper rifle. And each match individually is really like a different experience, even though you're going basically through the same process over and over and over again. It boggles the mind.
Sierra also, she has like a speed boost thing that can make you like run faster for the zombie, and then she has the healing burst. That's what.
Isn't it Kyra?
Yeah.
But she's got like speed boost thing that helps you run faster than the monster, which can get annoying trying to keep your speed up. And then she has the healing burst like every other medic. But I'll echo Seth's point. That's the big reason why I enjoy this game so much now. With each like how you perform with your hunters, there's so much varied things that can happen. You get different boosts that you can activate, like different perks that you can activate for your hunters. Depending on how well you perform with certain hunters. Like I've got several things where like your jetpack recharges faster, or your jumping distance is higher, or you have more ammo for a gun, or it takes less time to reload your gun. And there's just so many different ways that you can approach playing this game that makes it like new every time you jump into a match. It's so cool. I like it a lot.
We're moving away from number score, so I don't want to ask you what your number score is.
Okay.
So I want to ask you two different things.
How many walkers have you killed?
Actually, just one thing. we'll start doing this. Your review in a word. If you had to describe Evolve with one word, and it's not like awesome or something like that, how? Huh?
Awesome.
Awesome. What word would you use to describe?
Can I explain the word that I use?
Yeah, that's the
cool.
point.
I've got it. Shoo! And that's an exasperation.
How do you spell that?
But in a good way. SHOOEW. I mean, exclamation points at the end of each one.
Give it to us one more time.
Shoo!
All right.
It's because every game that I play, just about, you have games that are, exercises in tedium, just depending on randoms that you end up playing with, or et cetera, et cetera. Ben and I had a game with another friend of mine a couple of days ago. We were playing Nest, and we ended up breaking into groups of 2 to go attack the eggs. I was the assault guy, playing as what's his name, Hyde, who has a flamethrower, and Ben was with me as the medic. And we go to one egg. Brian and the other guy, the random, go to the other egg. And Ben's laughing now because he knows what I'm talking about. And our other 2 team members get dropped, but they managed to get that other egg. And we're at the last one, and I'm shooting the crap out of it with my flamethrower, switching over to my minigun, going back and forth. Ben's trying to heal me, and I also try to make weak spots with a sniper rifle on the egg. And then we get like the monster's coming. Brian's in our ears like, it's coming. You guys hide, run, you got to go. And I'm like, we can't. We're gonna run out of time because there's a timer on each mission to see depending on which game mode it is, the hunter will win if you run out of time, or the monster.
I think every
will win.
time it's the monster will win.
No, it depends. Hunt is since it's supposed to blow up the power.
Oh,
generator,
okay, yeah,
it depends.
Okay.
But it got down to the very last second, and at 3 seconds, Ben got dropped, and so he couldn't heal me. The monster starts laying into me. I'm screaming at the screen at the same time. We're all kind of screaming online over our party connection. Ah! And at the very last second, we win, and
it was great.
It was a thing of beauty.
It was great. And
if one more second had passed, I would have dropped, and the monster would have won.
And honestly, speaking to his one word review, every match, if not every, like every. There may be a match in between, but almost every match it feels like there are intense moments like that where you're just, I don't know, you're just pushing to get that last second shot in, or you're like right at the cusp of winning, or like there's just the monster can do one thing wrong and you capitalize on it, or you do one thing wrong and the monster capitalizes on it. It's just there's been very few times where we went into a game and it's been like, oh, this is dumb. Like this is.
I haven't gotten bored in one match yet.
Yeah.
At the very least, I get really frustrated with other people, the randoms that you end up playing with, because maybe the assault guy wants to run off by himself and try to do something. And that's one really easy way to lose every match you play.
Yeah. Did you give your one word?
Yeah, I'll give my one word. I wanted to change it just now. I thought about it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep it the way I had it before.
I would like to give 3 words for my review in one word.
Classic.
My one word, since this kind of covered yours, but my one word would be diverse. This game is very. It's straying away from what I feared it would be. It's not. It's not at all. I feel like it's not at all cookie cutter. Like there's a lot of diversity within the characters that you can play with, like I said about before, and there's a lot of diversity within how you play as the monster too. You can sneak around, or you could be somebody who just wants to head on fight the hunters, and there's a lot of different ways to go about how you like to play this game, and it's not set in one play style where you have to do it this way. There's a lot of different ways to approach it, and a lot of different strategies you can take. So diverse is what I would say. And I would also, this isn't part of the question, but I'd also like to say, if you were a fan of the Left 4 Dead series, if that's a kind of game that is that kind of jumps out to you and something you would enjoy, something you enjoyed playing, even if it was the being with a 4-man team, or if it was having different roles as the zombies that come out, or if you like that kind of gameplay, this may be a game that you enjoy playing. So, yeah.
Awesome. Anything you want to know about Evolve? Did the podcast stop?
No,
I'm just kidding.
I think that's. I don't have any questions.
That's
Well
thorough.
done.
Good job, guys. High five.
Thank you. Bam.
I will
You
not
too,
be
buddy.
high-fiving you. Oh, okay.
Why?
I'm over here.
Hair high five.
And the room blows up. Welcome to the episode 20 and the last episode. All right. I had a chance to play the Order 1886. I am going to attempt to talk about it as spoiler-free as possible. So let me just pull my review up here. The way I'm going to start structuring my reviews on the website is just talk about what I got right, what it missed on, and then just things that don't really matter. So, what did the Order 1886 get right? First of all, I think PlayStation is still looking for that marquee kind of PlayStation exclusive to release for the PS4 because, you know, we've had Resogun, we've had Infamous Second Son. Is it Second Sons?
Yeah, Second Son.
And what has there really been anything else outside of that?
Killzone Shadowfall.
Killzone Shadowfall.
Kind of what Beyond was talking about last. It was either Beyond or
It was the
kind of funny games
games
where
cast.
PlayStation really wants to Killzone to be a thing, but it's not.
Yeah, and so there hasn't really been that kind of marquee Titanfall or Halo Master Chief Collection that came out, you know.
Or Last of Us Remastered.
Well, I mean, Last of Us Remastered is, I guess if I'm going to put Halo in the category, we'd have to put The Last of Us in that category. But, you know, as far as original IP exclusive to PS4, they were looking for the Order 1886 to kind of deliver on that. And I would say it didn't. But let me talk about what I got right, and then I'll move into some of the problems that I have with it. The number one thing that it is beautiful. Mm-hmm. You know, you watched the stream, Diz came over, and I can't wait for you guys to get a chance to see it because visually they were able to do things that no other console game has been able to do before. It looks hyper realistic. It looks the lighting is beautiful. The player models are beautiful. There's not a stone left unturned in the environments that you're in. Everything has texture. Everything has depth. Everything responds to the lighting that's being placed on it. It's beautiful. And, you know, a lot of people started to the big thing that came out was like, oh, it's going to be 5 hours long, yada, yada, yada. And we talked about it last week. I don't care about length of a game. It took me 6.5 hours to beat this on normal, and I mildly explored. I'm not a huge trophy hunter or anything like that, so I didn't go way out of my way. But the fact that it's so condensed and linear really allowed it to be the game that it was visually. Like, when there's not that much stuff you've got to work on, you can really pour all of your attention into detailing every little piece of the environments that are there. And so I think the fact that it was a 6.5 hour game for me, a 5 hour for some, a 10 hour for others, played well into allowing it to shine where it shines the brightest. And the sentence that I used, the two sentences I used to really describe it is I said, what the Order 1886 does well, it does very well. And then where it lacks, it's glaring. So it's beautiful. It looks great. The other good thing about it is the weapon creativity. I thought they had a lot of imagination in the weapons, even though the weapons aren't necessarily there's not like a huge selection of what you can play with, but it kind of takes place in this alternate history where the Knights of the Round Table get Nikola Tesla to design and develop their weapons based on like ACE technology and, you know, just all the crazy mad scientist stuff that Nikola Tesla likes to do. And so you get guns like the arc gun, and you get guns like the thermite gun, or this awesome grenade launcher that you can launch them out and then tell them when to explode. So that was really cool. So there's a lot of creativity within that, and the game itself is hyper brutal, like super brutal. The arc gun, like guys' heads explode when you shoot them, and all kinds of stuff, like just crazy stuff happening. And so in those two regards, the game is really, really good. But that's probably where the really good stops. Like the gunplay and the progression through the story and the story itself are decent. They're nothing to write home about. They didn't do anything super innovative as far as mechanics or controls or anything like that. There's some cool mini games. The way that you pick locks is cool. You have this little gun that you put in, and it vibrates and sets the pins up, and you got to find the place where the pin is over top of the line and then lock it out. And so that was cool. There's a mini game where you have to talk to one of the Zeppelins in the sky, and you do Morse code on your touchpad. And so that was cool, just little creative touches like that, but really nothing super innovative. But what I want to talk about is where this game fell short. And first and foremost, and we recognize this in the first couple minutes of playing, you recognized it in the first couple minutes of watching it, is the pacing of this game is terrible. There's a lot of walking from one cutscene just to get to another, where you don't encounter enemies. And you'll sit through a 15-minute cutscene, it'll finally give you your controller, your player, you walk for 15 seconds forward, and then there's another 15-minute cutscene. And I spent a lot of my time picking up my controller, and I didn't just have this here for this example, I forgot it was in here. A lot of time picking up my controller, walking, maybe going and picking something up off a table, and then walking somewhere else, and then being like, oh, well, I'm just going to set that down because here I go. There's at least 3 or 4 chapters where it's just a cutscene. The game's 16 chapters long. So there's a quarter of your game that's just cutscenes. The game took 6.5 hours to beat. I would say 2.5 of it was me playing with my controller.
Can I ask a question at that point?
Yes!
Last week we kind of defended the accusation that this was only a 5 or 6 hour game with the fact that the guys were trying to blitz it. Were you trying to blitz it, or is that just...
No, I wasn't trying to blitz it at all.
So that's really just the length of this game.
Well, you said you were playing on the more casual difficulty, right?
I was playing on the default. I was playing on normal, and I don't explore a ton. It's funny. At first, you get in there, and it's so beautiful. You feel like I gotta look at every nook and cranny of this thing because somebody spent weeks of their lives, at least, developing, if not years, developing this picture on a wall. So you feel obligated to go look at it, and but then that kind of wears off as you go through. But I didn't try to run through it at all. You can only run through it so much because the pacing's so terrible. You can't skip through the cutscenes, and so there's 30 minutes of your time that it's going to take 30 minutes for a speedrunner. It's going to take 30 minutes for a completionist to get through. I'm not so disturbed by the time of the game as much as I am about the timing of the game. Mm-hmm. And it lost me at points. And the story isn't super convoluted by any means. There's some parts of it that it doesn't make sense exactly what's happening. But I think it was trying to generate an air of mystery. Because that's my second point, is the story is not good. It's very predictable, and I don't want to speak too much on the story because it hasn't been out that long. You can go read my review on player3podcast.com.
Can I ask a question on that point?
Yes.
Was I right?
Yes.
Yeah. There is a villain who is. It's just glaring.
Yeah.
The twist is glaring if you know anything about something.
Well, and I'll read a line from my review because it puts exactly what I was thinking into perspective. I brought up what you said, and you don't want to look at this, Seth. I said they told one of the most overtold stories in literary history, and then I quoted what that story is, and thought the audience dumb enough to not even place it under a veil in the beginning. They just put it out there and said, here it is, and it's one dot to another dot to connect. That's all it is. You don't have to reroute around something. It's right there. And
so just to put this in perspective for you listeners that aren't familiar with the game, not even playing it, I named the twist villain within the first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
So boom.
So there you have it. So that was not good. And then, I really just want to leave it kind of at that. If I had to describe the game in a word, it would be micromanaged. You were micromanaged throughout the entire game. Ready at Dawn wanted you to experience the story and wanted you to experience the story in one way and one way only. Most of the fights that looked like they were going to be epic really turned out to just be QuickTime events. And that was so that they could show you the animations that they wanted to show you, the angles that they wanted to show you, and you just had to respond with user input with the controller. Am I happy I played it? Absolutely. The game was fine. I don't feel like I wasted my time. I don't feel like I wasted my money.
Especially because I bought it for $40.
Well, and because you just bought it from me. But it wasn't one of those where I was like, gosh, I want to go back through and play this thing again. I didn't find any of the characters likable. There was nothing really redeeming about them. One of the biggest secrets in the game doesn't get an answer unless it's going to come in DLC later or it's coming in a sequel in 5 years when the sequel to this game's going to release, whenever. It left me wanting more, but not in like an anticipatory way, but just kind of this game looked like it could have been so much more than what it was. And if the story elements and the gunplay and the pacing would have matched the visual spectacle that the game was, it'd have been a 10 out of 10. But instead, it falls short in many of those areas, and it's not a perfect game, And what PlayStation wanted to be their marquee exclusive ended up not being. But it's very micromanaged. Like, a lot of the gunfights kind of all feel the same, and you got to die a couple times to learn the rhythm of them before you can succeed in them. And maybe that's just because I'm bad at shooters. I don't think I'm that bad at shooters, but the stealth, all of the stuff outside of the cutscenes are great. Like they keep you engaged, but then everything else just kind of feels uninspired. So anyway, there's my micromanage. That would be my single word review for The Order 1886.
Yeah. And as far as that pacing thing goes, like just watching it, like there are games that I enjoy watching, and I enjoyed seeing that game for the beautiful game that it was, but I couldn't have sat there and watched you stream the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's too slow.
Yeah. Anything you guys want to know about The Order? No?
You right.
You're right. All right, so that was your reviews. We've got reviews. Reviews for you. Remember, if you are enjoying the podcast, hit the follow button on Twitch. You can find us on iTunes and on.
We didn't.
No. I'm doing this while I think. And you haven't been posting links. I've been in here posting links, man. I've just been trying. There's people saying, "Hey," we don't even say "Hey" back. We're on podcast. But anyway, you can find us there. If you have any questions you'd like us to talk about, send those in via our email, player3podcast@gmail.com, onto our Twitter page, or onto the Twitch stream. I have a couple reviews I want to read. This one comes from Sebo C. Grist. I have no idea if I'm saying that right. This is a Twitter follower that we gained this week. He says, I'm very new to the show. These guys seem like old friends of mine. I enjoy their insight and the way they break down games. Great show for news, reviews, and some comedy. Put it on your weekly podcast, weekly list of podcasts. And then...
Thanks, Sebo C. Grist.
Let's see if I want to read this. Okay, here we go. This is from at Dan_survival. It says, gotta be honest, I didn't expect that much from your guys' podcast, but I'm really positively surprised. Keep it up. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, sir.
The best way to help out our podcast is to leave us a review on iTunes or in a rating, because the more we get of those, the more chance we have of getting onto the news and noteworthy part. But now we move on to our final section, and Ben, ham it up because I'm trying to think of one. We have the random question of the week.
Random question of the week for the month for this week.
It makes no sense. It doesn't make sense.
I thought it was pretty beautiful there. That's magical little harmony.
It's like The Order 1886, beautiful but no substance. Boom.
All right. I don't know if we've ever asked this question. If we have on the podcast, I apologize, and we can just talk about it again for our new listeners. But if there was a video game series that you guys would like to see make a comeback, not a remaster, but just a new iteration of it. Maybe it's a story that was told that wasn't complete that you'd like to be told again. Maybe it's just a mechanic and an idea and a concept that you think would translate really well over into the next generation of consoles. Or maybe it's just something that you love that you no longer get and you'd like to get it again. What would that game be, and why would you like to bring it back? We're going to pose this question also to our viewers, who can respond in the comments. All right.
This is one of those questions where I feel like every time you ask it, I'm going to have a different answer depending on what mood I'm in.
That's awesome.
But today, Jet Force Gemini. It was an N64 game, and I don't know a lot of people that played it.
I feel like I know this game.
But you played as three characters, twin brother and sister and their dog, Juno, Vela, and Lupus, which is an unfortunate name for a character.
Lupus?
It's never lupus. It is never lupus. That's a house reference. Okay. They always guess lupus. Spoiler alert, it's never lupus.
Well, they're all named after constellations. But anyway.
Oh, I thought it was after chronic diseases.
Yes. So it's this space game. It's a third-person shooter, which, Luke, you're a fan of. And you're fighting giant bugs. And you're trying to save these little teddy bears named Tribals from the giant bugs. And you just go through world after world and planet. There's a planet with zombie bugs. It's a lot of fun. Great game. It was an awesome game for the N64. If you haven't played it, you should... I'm not encouraging you to emulate it, but if you don't have an N64, that may be a route that you could choose. Awesome game. I would love to see that made again with a better controller than the N64 controller.
I will go
Fair
next
enough.
just because I don't like going last all the time. So I would like to see the MVP Baseball series make a return. I love MLB The Show, but I have not played a better baseball game than MVP Baseball 2005 that I believe had Albert Pujols on the cover. And there was a summer. I am terrible at starting a season and finishing that same season. Anybody who has watched me stream NBA 2K knows that fact because I'm always starting with someone new. By the way, tune in this week. I'm probably going to start one with Milwaukee. But this game was perfect. They had the coolest mechanic for picking up the pitch out of a pitcher's hand. The better your plate vision rating was, the better you'd see it. But as the ball was coming out of their hands, it would have a different colored like shading circle just slightly around the ball to determine if it was a fastball, an off-speed pitch, or a breaking ball. And then, so like, let's say red is for fastball, green is for curveball. When the pitcher throws it, as soon as it comes out of its hand, depending on your plate vision rating, it'll just flash around the ball for a split second. Green or red. And so if it's red, you know it's fastball. If it's green, you know it's a curveball. And you'd be able to respond from there. And then just that game did things for its time that for an EA Sports game especially were very innovative. 2005 was a really good year for EA Sports because that was Madden 2005 when they had the hit stick come in, Ray Lewis on the cover. Gosh, I feel like such a nerd when I talk about it. Sports games are my whatever game you just talked about. So anyway, MVP Baseball, bring it back. And plus, it would be an easy thing to get the guys that worked on that game, and they talked about this on Podcast Unlocked, to say, hey, let's have Microsoft give some money to the guys that used to work on that game and bring them on to develop an Xbox exclusive baseball game, because you need a baseball game, Xbox. You have fans of yours who have not abandoned your platform because they like other things, who would love a baseball game. Make them a baseball game. Get the team from MVP Baseball in there.
Make it happen, Phil Spencer.
We talked, was it last week, about Banjo-Kazooie possible title?
Yes, some rare veterans were Platonic. Are going to make a spiritual successor.
Yeah, I want, we've talked about how it won't happen. Not that in particular, but I really miss games like Crash Bandicoot, Gex. I've forgotten about Gex until recently.
Sly Cooper.
Some guys are talking about that on Enter Beyond or Kind of Funny Gamescast. I get the two confused all the time now because they're separate things. I want those games to come back. I want this Banjo-Kazooie third title, and I want it. There was Banjo-Kazooie, there was Banjo-Tooie, and then I want a third game in that series with an equally pleasing, funny name.
Give it to us. What is it?
Oh, I can't. I want to say 3, but that's just 3E. But that's just not. There's not enough to that. That's for the suits in Washington to decide.
Banjo-Three-Zooey?
What?
Banjo-Three-Zooey?
I'm gonna
Maybe.
I'm gonna email the Pentagon.
Hello, Kevin Spacey. Please make this. Oh, there's some House of Cards hype for next week, huh?
Not for me. I'm not a huge
for
House
you.
of Cards fan.
House of Cards in there.
Me and Les will talk about it. Bring Les over next week.
Yeah, okay, we got it.
Okay, I was going to move on and skip me.
No.
I've been racking my brain for the last few minutes while you guys are talking, thinking about games that I really want to come back.
And I'm going to give you 5.
I only really have one thing I really want to come back right now, and that's this Rock Band stuff to happen. Like, I really would love to see that happen. I want to experience it again. I just remember having it for the first time and going and buying the premium pack and like staying up all night playing Ballroom Blitz and stuff. Like, I just want to experience that again. Like, have the ability to go back and play those songs that makes me feel like I can play Greengrass and High Tides in real life, but I can only play it on the Rock Band guitar. So that would be an amazing thing if they could somehow make it possible for me to play those songs or that Rock Band on the current gen consoles.
Phil Spencer, make it so.
Also because my wife really loves that game, and that would be cool to play something with my wife.
Default Savior says he would like to see Rock and Roll Racing make its way back, and Dungeon Keeper. Those were his two. So thank you for those, Default Savior. Is that it?
I think that's
What do we do? How do we do on time?
That's it.
We're at an hour and 40 minutes right now.
Awesome. Perfect.
What? Good grief, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were going to be way early.
Yeah, we did our reviews. Reviews take a long time. Anyway, this is a good time to announce that we will be bringing back. We called, you guys answered in our survey saying that you guys were interested in special episodes, special monthly episodes. So we will be bringing those to you again starting in March with what we are going to be calling, I'm not positive yet, but basically it is going to be a 64 seed bracket.
Protagonist Madness.
I like it.
You stripped it from me. Oh, you named it.
I was trying to name it.
Protagonist Madness. I love it. Actually, Protagonist
sorry, I wasn't
Madness.
trying to
No, you're
strip
good. I didn't realize.
I was trying to name
I was doing the drum roll reveal, and then you jumped in. But basically, we're going to pit 64 of the all-time greatest video game protagonists in a 64-seeded tournament, much like the March Madness tournament, called the Protagonist Madness.
Yes.
Yeah, just
Trademark.
called Protagonist Madness.
TM.
Put the trademark on it. And our viewers and listeners will be able to vote on that. But be on the lookout for a special episode of Player 3 Podcast coming in March where we will reveal the seating and then we'll reveal the timing when we get all that worked out. It's a lot. So if you have some characters you would like to see included on that, put it in the comments. Send us an email at player3podcast@gmail.com. Send it to us on Twitter. And maybe we have one that we've missed. We have 67 right now.
I thought we had like 70 something.
Maybe we have 70 something, but it's a massive undertaking, and we're going to need to talk about that soon. Soony.
Like today.
Greatness
Anyway.
waits.
We are the Player 3 Podcast, and we're going to go around the circle. We're going to finish this out. We're going to start over here with Ben.
I'm Ben. My gamer tag for PlayStation Network is WhoBombTrady. My gamer tag for Xbox Live is WhoBombTrady, 3 words. WhoBombTrady. PlayStation is just 1 word. And then I'm on Twitch at WhoBombTrady, 1 word. You can follow me on any of those things if you want to. I can't guarantee I'll add you as a friend on PlayStation, but I'll play Evolve with you on Xbox if you want.
Awesome.
Name's Seth. You can find me on the PlayStation Network at Buttzors. That's Butttzorz, Buttzors. Or on the Xbox Live at Dongzors, Dongzorz. Got a whole monopoly on the lower body.
Every
man.
week. Every week.
And on the rare occasion that I stream on Twitch, you can find me on Buttzors again. If you missed the spelling the first time, that's Buttzorz. And if I do happen to stream, I'll be playing Evolve on the Xbox, or I'll be playing The Order 1886, which I just bought on price.
Discount!
I'm Larry Hunt. You can find me on Google Plus Larry Hunt. And I'm also on Twitter and Twitch at Lair Hunts Zombies, LARHUNTS. And I'll spell it for you for the first time ever. ZOMBIES. IBS? Irritable bowel syndrome.
What are you going to be playing this week?
I'm playing Titanfall. I missed that game. I'm going to play some Titanfall. You guys can join me if you want. If not, I don't care. But I'm playing Titanfall. Oh, wait. Hey. When are we doing Halo 4?
We need to do Halo 4
tonight
and not stay up all night doing it. That was terrible. My body regretted it.
Bad
We played
idea.
through Halo 3 in one sitting. It was great.
I had a great time.
We said we'd do it jokingly, and then we did it for real. It was like the opposite of the year of experience, 2013.
I'm cool with playing something. I don't know, tonight.
And I am Luke Croft. You can find me on Twitter at TK from Antioch. You can find me on PlayStation Network at Lodger Blackman, LODGER Blackman. And you can find me on Xbox Live at Download a Hoagie. And then we are the Player 3 Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Player 3 Podcast. You can find us if you search on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Blueberry, any of those podcast hosting services, and you will find us. We have a website, player3podcast.com, where you can find our review of The Order 1886. Diz's article about Fund It or Don't Fund It will be releasing on Tuesday, and I will be releasing an article on why we are abandoning review scores and how reviews will be set up from here on out on the Player 3 Podcast website, player3podcast.com. That's it. That's all, folks. That's episode 20. That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Player 3 Podcast.
Player 3 Podcast.